乎的也不对呀，这写的干嘛什么？
Physical punishment isn't just normalized in Asia. It's regarded as a necessity by parents. Let me show you just how extreme this violence is. In the West, spanking is the most common form of corporal punishment. While spanking is also common in Asia, Asian parents incorporate a variety of other punishment methods that may appear bizarre and cruel to Westerners. This is a rattan stick. It's a solid, lightweight stick made from rattan vines. It's commonly used as a weapon for self-defense. You want to guess what parents in Asia use this for? In many Asian countries like India, Malaysia, the Philippines, or Singapore, a rattan stick or any type of long striking stick is a staple of the household. It's just a normal part of life in Asian countries. In a 2010 survey, 78% of Singaporean parents believe that caning is an acceptable form of punishment. These sticks are usually used to hit the buttocks, but striking the hands is also a very common punishment. For those who haven't experienced getting hit on the hand, it hurts a lot more than you might think. If the strike is too hard or misplaced, the knuckles can actually break. When it comes to physical punishment using objects, parents in Asia usually pick up and use whatever is at their earliest convenience. Common objects that people report being hit with are belts, slippers, plastic clothing hangers, wooden spoons, fly swatters, and broomsticks. Here's a video of what this can look like. Getting beaten with an object might sound cruel, but in the eyes of these parents, they actually perceive it as a more justifiable alternative in which they don't feel guilty for their actions. Beating someone using their hands is regarded as an aggressive act, but in Asia, beating someone with an object is regarded as discipline or training, which feels more acceptable to these parents. In South Korea, there's a common term that translates to cane of love, because these cultures believe that disciplining someone with a stick or object is an act of tough love. I'll explain more about how culture influences this violent parenting style later in the video. Asian parents also implement pinching skin, hair pulling, or twisting and pulling ears as a less severe form of punishment. It obviously hurts, but it's typically regarded as a more gentle form of punishment. If these parents don't feel like implementing physical punishment, a common alternative is the depriving of food. Yes, unfortunately, this stereotype is true. This is a culturally accepted practice in many Asian countries, as many parents believe that children having food is a privilege, not a right. Now, everything I just described is horrible, but now let's talk about punishments that are borderline torture. These punishments are more rare and less documented, but they do happen. This is the kind of stuff that journalism and research rarely shine light to, and the only evidence of it is personal anecdotes. Waterboarding. Okay, I'm not talking about actual waterboarding, but it's something very similar. I've heard stories of Asian parents dunking their heads into water as punishment, but I'm not quite sure how common this actually is. A Filipino Reddit user describes her parents punching her to be out of breath, then having her head be held down in a water basin or water bucket. If you've ever seen this happen before, let me know in the comments. Another punishment is kneeling, and this one is more common. This involves being forced to kneel down on the hard ground for long periods of time. This results in excruciating knee pain and possibly even damage to the knee. And if you don't think this punishment is that bad, then try kneeling on a hard surface for 1 minute and you'll quickly change your mind. Kneeling was actually a torture method used in Vietnam on American POWs during the Vietnam War. That should put into perspective just how painful this punishment is. This punishment sometimes involves kneeling on rice or peas, which ingrain deep marks onto the knees. I can't show you what that looks like, but if you're really curious, then search up kneeling on rice or kneeling on peas. Lastly, some parents in Asia find it okay to punish using sharp objects, like needles or hairpins. This is done slowly and carefully, to be painful without causing injury. In an article written by the World of Chinese magazine, author Pei Xuanxie writes, "My mother stormed downstairs with a needle in her hand, and within seconds, I felt it pricking my lips. While pricking me, my mother asked me time and again if I would ever repeat my wrongdoing. One question, one prick, until 15 minutes have passed. Or perhaps it was shorter. I had lost all sense of time." Again, punishment methods aren't covered a lot by the media, and the only way to learn more about this is through personal anecdotes. So, to all my Asian viewers watching this, tell us about how your parents punished you in the comment section. So why are parents in Asia so cruel? Well, this is a complicated question, so let's break it down one by one. One very large reason why physical punishment is normalized in Asia is the prominence of Confucianism. Confucianism is an ancient Chinese philosophical and ethical system developed by this guy with a very wise-looking beard. It teaches morality, social harmony, and the importance and function of specific relationships in society. Confucianism also teaches people to subscribe to humanity and turn on bell notifications. Confucianism is the reason why Asian countries are collectivist societies, as opposed to Western countries which embrace individualism more. One important rule that Confucianism teaches is that the relationship between children and parents must be one of utter respect and obedience. Filial piety is a concept in Confucianism that children are in debt to their parents for bringing them into the world and raising them, and children must pay their parents back by obeying their wishes and needs. Disobedience or failure to meet these expectations is often seen as a moral failing. In ancient times, being unfilial could even be considered a crime. Though Confucianism is over 2,500 years old, its cultural impact and teachings still linger in many Asian and Southeast Asian countries, with examples being China, South Korea, Taiwan, Vietnam, and Singapore. Because of this ideology, any disobedience in children is seen as a terrible action which must be corrected. This leads to the use of corporal punishment. In many traditional Asian households, there's a common saying that translates to, "If you spare the rod, you will spoil the child." Confucianism also affects how children view their parents. Children are expected to put up with the punishments inflicted by their parents and respect their parents' decision to punish them. Most of these children will eventually grow up to financially support their parents, despite the way they were mistreated, and will be shamed if they don't. In China, it's actually illegal if a person doesn't financially support their parents who are 60 and older. Whereas in Western societies, individuals who are mistreated by their parents commonly end up cutting contact with them. And this is a completely acceptable thing to do in the West. Confucianism is one factor to why the Asian parenting style is violent, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. The biggest factor is the dog quality of life for people in Asia. For pretty much every single country in Asia, life either sucks there, or life did suck there at some point within the last 70 years, or both. For those in South Asian countries like India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh, the majority of civilians must endure hardships such as poverty, low wages, long and grueling work, having corrupt politicians, or high crime rates. And even in more developed countries like China and South Korea, parents are often overworked and have financial stress. In Asia, it's very normal to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. These are people who struggle to stay alive. Spanking is nothing compared to what they go through. Many Asian countries also had to go through war and destruction within recent decades. The Vietnam War, the Korean War, the Cambodian Civil War, the Chinese Communist Revolution. These are conflicts that scarred and traumatized generations of people. If you're a parent who witnessed mass destruction, death, war, starvation, and suffering, then spanking or caning would seem harmless in comparison. Although some of these conflicts are from over 50 years ago, that trauma still gets passed down in the form of discipline, leading to children today still experiencing that discipline. Compare this to Western countries. After World War II, Western countries have not experienced any devastating wars that traumatized the entire nation. Sure, there have been some small wars here and there, but none of it involved large numbers of Western civilian deaths. This also explains why violent parenting is much more prominent in Asia than in the West. A very large problem is that when Asian parents discipline their children, oftentimes they aren't doing it to raise better children, but also because they wish to take their own anger and frustration out onto someone else. For example, many parents in Asia will physically punish their children for underperforming at school, not only as an attempt to push them to do better, but also because a child's bad grades reflects how they have failed as a parent. In China, schools and teachers publicly announce students' grades, and a bad score can be very humiliating for parents. This public pressure increases parents' frustration and insecurity, which increases the severity of punishment they inflict. Here's a video of a Chinese mom getting mad at her son because of his homework.
写的这概括的也不对呀，这写的干嘛？什么这写的？改呀！你在这干什么？你再这样行不行？做正了，做好，做正，做好改。
Slapping as a punishment is socially accepted in Asia. So many parents also assume it's acceptable to slap for any reason. This leads many parents to use excessive force against their children for minor mistakes they have committed. Simply spilling water or forgetting to do a task is enough for Asian parents to justify inflicting pain. Academics are a very large factor to why children get punished in Asia. A study found that children who don't participate well in school are 5.6 times more likely to get serious corporal punishment than general children. This is because in many Asian countries, parents view their children as financial assets. Everyone in Asia wants to have a high social status, but because of the fast-paced, competitive work environment in Asian countries, reaching a higher social status is very difficult. In this case, a child going to a good college and getting a good job is the only way to bring a family to a higher social status. Along with this, many Asian countries have flawed retirement and pension systems, which means many elderly individuals must continue working in order to stay alive. However, this burden will be lifted off of them if their children are able to get a good job and provide for the family. This would allow the parents to retire early. Because of this, many parents need their children to succeed and are desperate to do whatever it takes to make their children work hard and earn good money. This mindset that children are financial assets is further demonstrated in more extreme cases, where parents sell their children into forced labor or forced marriage. This is especially prominent in South Asian countries, and I actually made a video that goes in depth about this that you should check out after finishing this video. Now, usually at the end of every video I make, I talk about how to fix the problems mentioned throughout the video. But this is one of those topics that are much more complex and cannot be simply fixed with black and white solutions. Many Asian countries have implemented laws that criminalize physical punishment, but simply criminalizing this act is nowhere enough to solve this problem. Parents will still continue to mistreat their children in private, and no one will know. This is a deep-rooted problem that will take time and a lot of work from non-government organizations and the public. Although a lot of this is out of our control, what we do have control over is the kind of parents that we will be. This cycle of generational trauma can end with us. Of course, that doesn't mean we should become overly permissive and gentle with our children. Children still need consequences for their actions.
But punishments should only be used for the child's own good. Children should not be used as emotional punching bags.
And I just want to end this video off with one of my favorite quotes. Some of you might have heard this already. It might be a little corny, but it's very important for the topic of toxic Asian parenting, because I believe a lot of you who experienced abusive parents should hear this quote. This is a quote by Bianca Sparacino. You're going to realize it one day, that happiness was never about your job, or your degree, or being in a relationship. Happiness was never about following in the footsteps of all those who came before you. One day you will understand that happiness was always learning about how to live with yourself, and that your happiness was never in the hands of others. It was always about you. Hey guys, here's the video I was talking about. You should go check it out. It's a good video. And if you want this video to be shown to more people, then hit that like, leave a comment, or if you're feeling it, you can even hype the video. That'd be pretty cool. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I wish you a very beautiful day.